Korean Parisian food in San Francisco, Elon Musk buys Twitter, and the Great Railroad Strike of 1877 today on Good Work.
Hello, workers of the world, and welcome to Good Work, a roundtable discussion about the world of working, which is a major part of our lives. So we should talk about it. I'm James Mastriani.
I'm Matt Newell.
And I'm Jake Lloyd Bacon, and we are writers and comedians and not educated provocateurs of all things labor. We simply have an interest. And this show is to explore that interest and maybe have a laugh or two. Also, we're remote. It's another remote recording. We had some travel restrictions.
What?
James is on the no-fly list.
Is provocative? Is it always sexy? Doesn't it always sound like sexy to you? If something's provocative, it's a little like
because of the word.
Oh, interesting. I actually don't think of it that way, but it is.
But is it all? But I don't think it is always either.
No,
I think I
because it could be exploratory of something like in culture or in society.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like when you hear like something is erected.
Yeah. Totally.
So what you're explaining is your mind is in the gutter all the time.
Whoa, gutter. When I think of gutter, I think of butt cracks.
Interesting. I don't think of that either. I think of a water filtration system.
Well, because I'm blowing up your spot. But James was born without a butt crack. He had one. He had a butt crack.
You had it surgically implanted?
Okay, first of all, just because you said, blowing up your spot doesn't mean that makes it okay to out-reveal my...
that doesn't excuse me?
No, it doesn't excuse you.
That's not. I think that's like It holds up in a court of law as long as you say allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly.
Yeah. Then you can't get in any trouble.
I said I was blowing up his spot, Your Honor. I can't be held accountable for.
The court finds the plaintiff not guilty for blowing up.
Thank you, Justice Roberts.
Oh no.
Thank you, Justice Roberts. That's Chief Justice Roberts to you, young man.
Speaking of Chief, what's the Chief got?
Hey, well,
I've been working on my segues.
That was
nice segue.
That's really good. I thought you just meant you were working on figuring out how to drive your Segway around the little car you
can't
have.
Drive those. I got my license revoked.
Listen, I don't know how many listeners we have in New York and how many of those listeners are looking for work. But from the Chief this week, I just want to talk about this very great post that they made, this article that's just, hey, these are the MTA exams that are coming up and wrapping up. So these are just New York City MTA exams leading to public service positions. Most of the jobs are located in the New York metropolitan area, obviously. Prospective applicants are advised to write or call the appropriate office to make sure they meet the qualifications needed to apply for this exam, or these exams. But for jobs for which no written tests are given, candidates will be rated on education and experience or by oral tests or performance exams. So maybe we'll post a link to these because obviously there's a lot more to click through and see this stuff. So I'll post a link to these on our Twitter at Good Work Pod for as long as Twitter is still a thing, and of course in the Discord. But the revenue equipment maintainer closes November 15th. Hey, if you want to be an equipment maintainer and make $41.12 an hour. That's open. Bus maintainer, that's looking for auto body technicians, as well as auto mechanics in New York City, positions starting at $33.84 an hour. Those all close November 15th, those exams. Closing November 21st, they're looking for station agents, not the fantastic movie featuring Peter Dinklage, but an actual station agent.
They're not looking for that movie?
They're not looking for people who have seen The Station Agent. If so, I'd apply. I've seen that movie so many times. It's one of my favorites.
I couldn't apply. I've never seen it.
Never. Oh, it's a great movie.
I'd fail the exam.
I could I could work part-time because I've seen the trailer. Right? Is that how?
I don't know how that works. Maybe Justin Roberts will prove that as well. Allegedly, that closes November 21st. Looking for station agents, and of course, plant and equipment maintainers, which are essentially HVAC controllers. So people doing, air conditioning units and air ventilation systems for the MTA, as well as power distribution maintainer, which is the most vague of them all. Not sure what that means. Those close December 15th. So a lot of MTA positions being offered at the moment for these exams. Obviously, there's click-through, like I said, for more information about the exams. You can go to new.mta.info/careers/upcoming-exam-dates. And those have the all of the lists of all of them, as well as a couple others that are more niche that I didn't list here. But I don't know, every now and then I figured when the chief posts something like this, who knows? Maybe one person is listening in New York City that hates their job and they go, hey, you know what? I might be qualified for this and I want to go become a station agent.
That's all it takes. Just one. We just got to reach one person.
One person.
Can we stop making hourly wages cents? Like, just round up. It's crazy.
It is a little ridiculous.
$47.84 an hour or something. Just $41 an hour or $42 an hour. Just
here's the reality.
If I would be it's easier to figure out your finances.
Also, even if the actual pay was $38.17, you could just say you're making $38 an hour.
Yeah,
in the
or 30,
ad.
or you get a raise to 39. Not you're
Right.
getting a 6 cents raise or whatever.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Do you think they still do? I mean, are most raises like by percentage, you think?
Yes.
Like they'll be like, I'll give you
Percentage
like a 10% raise or something like that.
Oh, maybe that's why it just becomes that after a time. Like, you can't help.
I know. I'm trying to figure out why it would ever be that. Like, why would
But I
you
remember
ever?
when I worked retail, like, you would get like a 50 cents raise or something.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. It was like, what the fuck?
Right.
Like a 50. Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you
It's
so
like
much.
Yeah.
My rent went up, 7% of what it was, but my thanks for this 50 cents.
Oh, 50 cents. Wow.
And
then 33% of it goes to the government.
I want to throw this one other thing out there outside of the exams section. We'll double dip here into another posting by the chief. The MTA is also accepting applications for bus maintainers. And that's not, I don't think that's tests. That's simply just an applicant through November 15th. And that is starting.
Probably, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Maintainers? Is that what that is?
It says maintainers. It says, for bus maintainers. And that is a $33 an hour starting rate for a 40-hour work week. And after 4 to 6 years, the salary increases to $40 an hour. And I rounded that up because it's actually $39.81. Yeah.
Man,
so here we go. It tells you
cents.
what they do. They maintain, install, inspect, test, alter, and repair the bodies and related mechanical, structural, and electrical equipment of buses and other automotive vehicles, including servicing, repairing, installing doors, seats, windows, framing, sheeting, handbars, signs, floors, radiators, heat exchangers, bumpers, light fixtures, and headlights. So it seems like a mechanic, collision work, body work, like if you have experience in any of those things, I think that's like their requirements is like a minimum of a few years of working in those environments. I'm going to assume that these jobs they train quite a bit on the job, I would assume.
Yeah.
So go get some work, New Yorkers.
Get it.
This is something that we've talked about in past episodes. I'm currently pretty fascinated by this whole thing and kind of like keep checking, which is the railroad strike. It looks as if we are heading towards something here, and it's really, really interesting to see what it's going to be because, on one hand, it's like, really the question is, will the federal government allow this to happen? How will they intervene? Because like it is going to, like we've said on previous episodes, like it is going to shut everything down. In fact, in Los Angeles alone, there are currently 20, I think it said 29,000 containers that are just sitting there, and because of the looming strike, they haven't been moved yet.
Like shipping containers.
Shipping containers, yeah. And that's like not the only, it's going to be like that. They're starting, some like companies and stuff are starting to prepare for it. But the big thing that if our listeners have not been keeping track with this, basically the big thing now, they got more money, which is good, and they also got a little bit of, because road workers are like on call 24 hours a day, so they got a 24% wage increase over 5 years, but the industry does not want to budge on paid sick days. Right now they have 0 paid sick days. The union is asking for 15 paid sick days, and
let's just to elaborate on that, because I could see in theory, somebody being like, well, not all companies offer paid sick days, and so that's fine. But it's not as simple as it sounds like, because as you just sort of mentioned, they're on call like 24 hours a day. So by having no paid sick day, that means that if you are sick actively, you are on call. And if you cannot make that call, if you get a call and you cannot make that call, you're fucked. You're either fired, suspended, like your job will be at risk just because you are ill, like humans get.
Yeah. So and the last 2 years, everyone's been dealing with like these illnesses. You know what I mean? Like you'd think that they would be like, oh yeah, this is
totally with COVID now. Yeah.
And also all jobs should have it, but especially if you're on call. Like, any job should have paid sick leave, Or
and the argument is paid sick leave would cost $688 million a year. That's kind of the railroad's argument of why they won't do it. And then the counter argument to that is that that was made from the unions is the railroad industry is the most profitable industry in the United States at a 50% profit margin, and $688 million a year doesn't even do a divot into their bottom line. It does not, like it's it's a drop in the bucket for the most profitable industry in the country. And so like it's just fucking greed. It's just dumb greed where they can't let workers have 15 paid days off a year where they could get sick.
We've been talking about this every episode for a few weeks now for obvious reasons. It is a big deal. Do we have any like evidence or history or something that we can compare the situation to look forward at, like, what if a strike does happen?
Absolutely, we do. We've got honestly, like in the 19th century, there were so many, and early 20th century, there were so many railroad strikes. If you go back and just look at them all, it kind of gives you a little blueprint or potentially what could happen. One thing I will say that is, I don't know if it'll have the same outcome, but in the past, they've been fucking insanely violent with like gun battles and riots and clashes between police and strikers or militia and strikers.
Well, I feel like we're a gentler, calmer people now. So
yeah, and since it is such a big story and it is so poignant right now in the moment, after the break in this episode, we'll actually discuss a little bit of some
dive in.
Historical ones. Yeah.
Oh, a little teaser. Weird.
Yeah, so you better stick around.
Well, let's get into a little bit of. I got a little bit of news here. All right, I got a little Starbucks news and I got a little non-Starbucks news. Let's start with the non-Starbucks news because it's more sad. This has to do with safety. One of the right? Is that one of the?
Yes,
the four?
It is.
Oh yeah.
Since we're remote, I don't have the little list in front of me. It's good pay, safety,
equity,
and
opportunity.
Opportunity. You got it. You guys know what's up. the chief's 4 tenets of good work. This is from San Francisco Gate, SF Gate, Paris Baguette. Okay, so this is okay. I'm gonna start. This is confusing, a little confusing with the locations because this is the name of the company is Paris Baguette. It's a Korean bakery chain, but it's with locations in LA and San Francisco. But this happened in Korea, in a factory in Korea.
Right.
Paris Baguette, the Korean bakery chain with Bay Area stores, is being boycotted after horrific factory death. Did you guys hear about this?
No.
The Korean-based bakery shop with numerous Bay Area stores is under fire after a factory worker in South Korea was crushed to death on the job. A 23-year-old factory employee who was allegedly working alone at a bakery plant in a Korean province that I'm going to mess up the name for, but Pyeongtaek Gyeonggi province was killed Saturday when her upper body was caught in a sauce machine, according to the Korean Times. Vice reports that employees discovered the woman's body hours later were asked to resume production as usual.
Oh, no.
A move that has been met with outrage in South Korea and the U.S. Calls to boycott Paris Baguette were seen on Twitter earlier this week. With some urging locals to avoid Bay Area stores too. Paris Baguette has many storefronts, including locations in San Francisco, Berkeley, San Jose, Fremont, and beyond. Yeah, this is crazy.
That's horrifying.
Yeah. She was so I was like first of all, I don't even know what a sauce machine is.
I mean, I can draw
Is that just like a stir?
conclusion. I can draw a conclusion
Like a
of some
pot?
sort. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, like what is the like what? Yeah,
I mean, no matter
I
what
don't
it
want to
is-
dive into the macabre here.
I mean-
but
Why not?
No matter what it is, it's a giant
Halloween.
it's a giant machine that probably is significantly stronger than humans are, that moves quickly and is powered well.
Yeah.
Like no matter what it is, it's a night. It's a
It's an industrial mixture, I think.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the article here, too. It lacked an interlock device needed to protect operators, the Korean Times wrote. Days earlier, another factory employee in South Korea allegedly had their hand injured in a machine but was not sent to the hospital for treatment.
Wait, I'm sorry. I think you broke up there on our connection. Did you say it lacked a safety thing?
Yeah, and it's called an interlock device. So that's needed to protect the operators. And then days earlier, someone else was injured in a machine, but they were not sent to the hospital. Yeah, they issued an apology.
Oh,
Well, that's here.
That's fine then. Everything is
So why
fine
are we
then.
even covering
then
it?
why
It's
are
all
we
fine
even
now.
why are we even talking about this?
She's
You're
back
trying to
alive.
you're trying to cancel them?
I mean, this is,
Yeah, I'm trying to cancel them. Yeah, sorry, I'm part of cancel culture. Yeah,
that sucks.
Man, that is that's
and
so
did you say that workers are still currently on strike, or are they under fire?
Oh, no,
Like,
no.
the companies-
People are trying to boycott. They're not striking. They're
It's
being
boycott.
boycotted by the public because of safety issues.
That's a good boycott.
Um,
That's a fair boycott. Don't give those
So
people
Yeah.
their money.
if you're in San Francisco or Los Angeles and
Korea.
Korea and you enjoy
But
the
not Paris.
Korean company Paris
Baguette.
Baguette.
Yes.
Just know that their safety at their workplace is obviously not up to par.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. They have vowed to invest 100 billion won, which is $70 million in safety. So that's that. They said after this, but
Sure.
they also didn't shut down that factory. They made people go to work.
That's
after-
insane.
I mean, that's terrifying.
Especially like
yeah.
you have to assume that to at least a percentage of that workforce, like this was their friend, their colleague that they probably knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't think I'd even be able to go back into the factory, let alone back
No.
to work.
Yeah.
I mean,
Fuck no.
that's absurd.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's
so
awful.
That's a little
Yeah.
bit of the safety news. Fuck you, Paris Baguette.
Listen, that was a real downer. Give us some good news. What's going on with the Bucks this week?
Oh, here's some good news. This isn't. I don't know if this is actually good news here, but this is This is from Bloomberg newspaper. Howard Schultz comment to pro-union Starbucks worker was threat. The labor board alleges. So this is just a follow up on our favorite piece of shit, Howard Schultz. The agency brings complaints over CEO's remarks to employee on a let's see, Starbucks Corp interim chief executive officer Howard Schultz made comments during an April meeting with employees that U.S. labor officials view as an illegal anti-union threat, according to a complaint Friday. So he made this comment back in April, and they just now decided that it was officially a threat. We're moving quickly here.
Right.
6 months later, I'll decide whether that's a threat or not. In that meeting, an employee asked Schultz about retaliation against union supporters. He told the worker, quote, "I'm sensing a lot of anger from you about Starbucks. If you hate Starbucks so much, why don't you work somewhere else?" The employee later resigned from the company. They alleged in a complaint filed Friday that Schultz threatened employees with discharge by inviting employees to quit their employment because they engage in union and or protected concerted activities. So they've decided that was a threat, which it was. He's the boss, and he's trying to stop unions. I mean, it's so which is illegal. Like there's no
totally.
There's nothing to read between the lines here. There's nothing to misinterpret. This isn't one of those like, oh, well, people are running with a thing that he said because it sounds like this, but he's just meant that. Like, this is just clear as day. Evil man continues to disapprove of his own workers who are making him wealthy, having a decent life and a decent living wage and a decent job.
Also, I love his comment about like, well, if you don't love working at Starbucks so much, why don't you get another job? And it's so funny to me because it's like, do you really think that people work at Starbucks because they fucking love Starbucks so much?
Right.
No.
Nobody works at Starbucks because they're like, I love it. I love the aesthetic. I love the company. I love the coffee.
I just can't get enough
because it's a fucking job.
I can't get enough of this Jason Mraz they keep playing. Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's so
fucking
funny.
ridiculous.
Like, if that's the metric you're talking about, like, dude, you would have 11 employees total. Like that's so funny.
And they would all only be there because of nepotism. They'd only be there because like it was somebody's cousin that needed it.
They claim it's categorically false, that Schultz aimed to bring the focus of the meeting to the task at hand after the activists attempted to divert it. That's what they said. So he was trying to get the meeting back on track after some crazy worker was asking about unions. Our focus right now, this is a Starbucks, our focus right now is on working side by side with our partners to listen, learn, and reinvent the Starbucks experience. Starbucks spokesperson Andrew Troll said in an emailed statement on Friday, "Our hope is the union would respect our right to listen to, collaborate with, and share the facts with our partners, just as we respect their right to do so."
Capitalists love to like write poetry about what their fucking their business is. Like the Starbucks experience. What you mean, walking into a building and getting a cup of coffee?
Yeah. You're our guest here. This is the experience too. Like it's fucking carnival, or
I know.
Like, amusement parks are the only ones we can say the experience. I think.
I feel like, or I guess theater or like
yeah.
But you can't, or I guess skydiving you could call an experience, but sorry. Me running into a place to get a cup of coffee because midday I'm fatigued is not an experience.
Because you guys got me addicted to this fucking drug anyway. Now I need it to function.
Also, it's the only option because you've closed down all the other like decent small coffee shops.
Yeah.
I do since we're talking about Starbucks. We like to try to keep up with the Starbucks United account on Twitter. Through the Good Work Pod Twitter account. Some small group that's part of Starbucks United had a meeting for negotiations with Starbucks, the company, and over the course of 4 days, this group, specifically this one gentleman named Tyler, who's at Union Tyler, Tyler on Twitter, has posted photos of their entire group from Starbucks Workers United from the union sitting at the table alone because Starbucks either no-showed or walked out within minutes of the meeting. And he's kind of gone through each 4 days. My favorite one was on day 3 where he said, no updates today. And it's still him and the group just sitting there by themselves with Starbucks not showing up to the negotiations, saying, day 3, the gang used our time wisely. We planned karaoke nights and organized some workers and had some food. So he's just posting updates to what they're doing while Starbucks is supposed to be negotiating. So way to continue to be shitty, Starbucks, and good on you, Tyler, and everybody at Starbucks United.
Good on you, Tyler.
Starbucks Workers United. Well, speaking of users on Twitter, we're not going to get into the entire thing right now because it's a lot. We could do a whole episode on it, and we have other fun stuff planned to talk about railroad strikes. But before we get to that, we got to talk about the big news. Elon Musk.
Elon.
Everybody,
real life Tony Stark.
Oh boy, you said a couple minutes ago about Schultz. You said did you call him our favorite asshole? Is that what you called him?
Yeah.
I don't want to be lumped into that. Elon's my favorite asshole. Because I don't think Elon
a team of assholes.
We have a whole team.
Yeah.
But when it comes to favorites, Elon's my favorite because he's just a fucking idiot. So Elon Musk bought Twitter, and by bought Twitter, we should clarify.
A lot of quotation fingers.
We should clarify what happened, because I think a lot of people, especially the people like on the right, which aren't listening to our podcast, but they're like, yeah, he did it. He bought this because he wants to, bring back free speech to this, evil, voice snuffing application that is Twitter. Elon put in a bid for Twitter because he was an idiot and because he's just running his mouth because he's a billionaire who just wants friends and he's not funny and he wishes he was.
He also vastly overpaid for it, which is hilarious.
So this is what I'm saying: is he put in a bid. Twitter had no choice but to go, yeah, we're hemorrhaging money as a company. If he's putting in this bid, we have to take it to secure this company. He then backed out, and Twitter sued him to oblivion to make good on the bid, because you can't just pull out your bid after that point. I don't know the fine details. Somebody way smarter than me can get into the fine details of exactly how that all happened, but those are the cliff notes. He didn't actually want to buy Twitter. He was just running his mouth, and then he got caught, and then he had to buy Twitter. He went in on day one. He thought it would be the best thing ever to make us think he's got a big dick, I guess. I don't know. Fired the CEO and the CFO, which made them both instant millionaires.
It's so funny. It's so funny that he didn't know about their parachute.
It was in their contracts that if they were to be let go, it had to be in a series of, there had to be something, protocols, I suppose. So he fires these two people thinking like, this will be great. I'm going to trim all this fat, which just cost the company that much more money, a ton of money. The stock is plummeting. And so there's a thing that's happening right now on Twitter. Matt, you're intelligent. You're not on Twitter. But there's two things that are occurring. Bigots, racists, and assholes are like emboldened. They're thinking now like, this is great. Twitter is back. We can say whatever we want. We can,
Twitter's back.
We can say the N-word and post. And now all of a sudden, porn is back on Twitter. Hey, all this stuff is going to happen. Everything's great.
What? Maybe I'll get my. I'll sign back up again. I think
there was also a big. Sorry to cut you off, Jake. But just to accentuate the specifics here, there was also a big right wing personality, probably grifter, but who also tweeted like now people can like misgender. Other people on Twitter again, and like just like we were talking about the word provocateur earlier, and it really has brought out like the trolls, the provocateurs, the antagonists, the grifters, the fucking all of them. They all of the ghouls in the in the closet.
So
did he say? So he said that because since he bought it, he's taken away. He's having no standards. Is that what he said?
He wants essentially. He thinks that Twitter is oppressive. Right. He thinks like you shouldn't have banned Trump. You shouldn't have kicked all the people that have been kicked off of Twitter for hate speech and invoking riots and invoking hate and all the awful shit that people do on
he's
Twitter.
Gonna get sued now.
Here's the thing.
Literally
Here's the thing.
He wants it to be. He says it's the marketplace, the free marketplace of ideas, and should be, kind of be the place where people can offer, their ideas. I don't know that just tweeting out the N-word 40 times, which is what a bunch of accounts were doing. Like, how is that a marketplace of ideas?
It should be noted, James, that most of those aren't real people. The influx of bots, because that was another thing that Twitter has been really trying to cut down on accounts that aren't real people.
Bots were tweeting the N-word?
Yes, it's like all the Russian propagandists.
Who's programmed these bots?
It's a great question. It's a lot of people think that it's like, it's like the same people that were behind like Russian propaganda and like people that want to sow seeds of discontent. What's the word I'm looking for? Sow seeds of, disdain amongst the people of America to destabilize. Yeah. To divide us, to destabilize us. Like people, there's all these reasons why people do it. Also, a bunch of people just think it's funny because they're stupid and they don't have anything better to do with their lives. They're online trolls, the trolls and that kind of shit. But wait, let me just all of these things are all happening at once, right? So you have the influx of idiots, you have an influx of bots that the idiots think is funny. So at some point, Twitter is mostly just robots talking to robots, right? Let's all just But then you have on the other side, you have our friends, the people that I love and hold dear to my heart, who are reacting like this is the end of times. The influx of comics and liberals and people who I love dearly and I have utmost respect for, just cringeworthy. Well, I can't support this app anymore. Goodbye, guys. This is it for Twitter. I'm out. I'll see you later. First off, you're not actually leaving Twitter. Most of the people, like, they're tweeting again like 5 hours later about something unrelated. Your accounts aren't being deleted. You're not going to give up your 20 to 80K followers of advertising and of reach. Like, you're not doing it. You're overreacting for a few reasons. One, Twitter's never been owned by a good person. No social media that we have ever had in the past 20 years has ever been owned by anybody ethical. None of this shit is good. So to act like all of a sudden, now that Elon Musk owns Twitter, all of a sudden, Twitter is going to be really bad now. It's going to be no fucking different.
It's been bad the whole time, yeah.
It's been bad the whole time, yeah, for sure.
And also, regardless of who owns it, okay, I will concede that the influx of the hate speech, even on day one, was massive. And that, yes, there has been talk from people that work inside Twitter. There's been a lot of anonymous interviews with employees who have stated he is trying to roll back security measures to prevent hate speech. He's trying to roll back security measures to prevent bots and those sorts of things. He's going to
roll back or roll
back
out?
the security. No, roll back the security measures that Twitter has had in place.
Oh, I see.
Okay, like he's loosening security. He's loosening restrictions on banned phrases and words and the things that get caught in crawls and, the way that Twitter reacts to reporting things on Twitter. Like, there has been word that he's doing all that. But the reality is they still have advertisers that they are going to need to appease. And that, that big thing is like, this is still just a business. Twitter isn't the world we live in. It is a business, and they don't need to have free speech on it because it's a private place. We are going to somebody's private place, right, to share ideas. It's owned by a person who can do what they want with that, right? But at the end of the day, it's business. They're going to have to talk to advertisers. The stocks are plummeting. Advertisers are already getting huge flack from the public for being like, hey, are you going to stick around? Will you agree to pull out from Twitter if he lets Donald Trump back on, or if Elon does this, or if Elon does that, right? So all of those are the moving parts. And at the top of the totem pole, we have Elon Musk, who, in spite of his, quote, wealth, is a terrible businessman. People think that Elon Musk is this mad genius who created Tesla. He didn't. He bought into Tesla.
I don't think people think that. I don't think people think that anymore.
No? Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
I think he's kind of he looks like people know he's kind of a moron.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of I feel like there's a lot of footage of him saying stupid fucking shit.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Somebody leaked his his text messages with people.
yeah, he's like just kind of dumb.
Yeah, he's not bright, but he's also a shitty businessman. One could argue maybe he's a great businessman because he invests in companies early and then immediately sells, right? It doesn't always mean a profit for him, but it makes it seem like he is this super progressive. Oh, he's SpaceX. He's getting people to space and he's going to all these things. He's really just a rich kid who used his parents' money to create an investment portfolio. That's all he did, right? And if he owns Twitter a year from now, I will be absolutely fucking shocked. This is a sinking ship that he is going to abandon very abruptly.
I hope it breaks him.
I mean, honestly, if Twitter exists a year from now, I'll be pretty surprised.
I can't imagine that it's that case. I just don't think I don't think he is an idiot and he's a proud idiot, but he's also like, at some point, someone's going to be like, well, here's a bunch of money for Twitter. You know what I mean? Like to do something better with it.
Yeah. I don't know. Look, I guess it's going too far for me to say Twitter won't exist in a year, but I do think this is going to, I think we're going to start to see like the same kind of downward spiral we saw with Facebook, where it's like only a very small.
Meta's doing bad, I think.
Yeah,
really
it's terrible.
Bad. It's on the verge of collapse. Yeah. Like it's doing really bad.
I do think the difference is really that for as much as we can talk about how evil Twitter is and how bad it is for our society, Twitter is also the reason why Georgia turned blue. Twitter is also the reason why small grassroots campaigns from progressives and democratic socialists are winning elections in local politics. Like Twitter is non-political. Twitter is the reason why artists who don't have the reach or the backing of financiers and producers of Hollywood are getting their art out there and being able to succeed and run businesses online.
I mean, it was the Arab Spring too. Like that was it played a huge role in that uprising.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So yeah, there is.
So like Twitter,
it's
guns
are
shitty,
good too. They kill bears, but they're also awful.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
it's a shitty thing, but it's a
real anti-bear statement there.
I guess what I'm trying to say though is like unlike
polar bears.
Oh really? You're real anti-polar bear?
I'm just kidding. No, I don't. I love all animals.
You can't wait till those polar ice caps are melted and those bears have no place to sit.
Of all the bears, like the skinny polar bears are like the saddest ones.
I don't know. I know I'm ranting, but the point I'm trying to make here, of course, is like Twitter, unlike Facebook, Twitter is actually a useful tool because the reach of Twitter is much farther than Facebook. Because Facebook, you still ultimately need to be a friend of a person or follow a thing. You could see shit on Twitter that you have no association with. Twitter's reach it's the biggest reach right now, hands down. And you're not going to share the same sort of ideas. It doesn't support, or it supports click-through. It allows you to share links in ways that TikTok doesn't and Instagram doesn't. Like Instagram and TikTok are designed to keep you on those apps. Whereas Twitter is a tool that allows you to get beyond the app of Twitter. You know, a politician can share their website on Twitter and their event that you can go to. Like, whereas TikTok and Instagram are designed, like you can't post a link on TikTok. On Twitter. The only place you can post a link on Twitter is in your bio. That's it. So if you want to post, here's a website for this fundraiser we're having.
Wait, what?
You can't post a link on Instagram. When I post,
no, you said Twitter, but I think you can on both.
You can't post.
You said. I think you got them mixed up there when you were saying that. You're saying you can't post a link on Instagram unless they're in the bio.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And so Twitter is a different beast. And as much as I would like to see it cleaned up and be better and not be a shitty place, Twitter was great when it was a bunch of comedians just being funny all the time. Like I loved that. I loved pre-Trump Twitter.
Same.
pre-Trumpist Twitter was a blast. It was, the greatest tool in my, advertising for the various projects that I've done throughout the years and my artistic endeavors. And it's
I'm gonna be honest. I never liked Twitter. It was always my least favorite of them all. I was never on it. That's why it was one of the first ones I deleted. I was like, I'm never even looking at this thing.
Right.
Everything on Twitter, there's nothing. I'm not missing out on anything. Maybe I'll find out something like a day after everybody else, but that's the most left out of. You know what I mean? Like, there's no downside to being. At least Instagram has fucking funny videos. Twitter is just garbage to me. Like, it's just scrolling through garbage. It doesn't even look good. It's like it's just like words. It's like so. And the layout is stupid. I hate it. I hate Twitter so much.
Yeah,
I've even but I never. I think I had Twitter. I think I got it when it first came out. And I maybe tweeted 7 things sent in the 15 years it's been out.
That's so funny.
I think I really hate it, and I hope it does fail. I hope it goes away.
Can I say?
This is interesting. I love these polar opposite views.
Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. Is that
what's the problem?
If Twitter fails, something is just going to take its place anyway.
Totally.
And that thing is not good. There's already 100 different. There's what was this other one? Counter Social is another Twitter substitute. That's like,
I hope that fails too.
There's so much security.
Social.
Well, no,
I hope they all fail. I mean, I can hope they all fail. I
think that you're
Twitter.
I don't think that you're being realistic about how the world works right now and how news
happens.
Twitter
is
news.
100%. I'm being realistic with the word hope. I hope it fails. I didn't have Twitter in high school, and I was fine. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, you don't need it. I don't think about it other than these Elon Musk things. I literally, my day-to-day life is not affected by the fact that there's no, if Twitter went away, nothing would change in my life.
Sure. Okay, that's fair for you. Yeah.
I could get my news from Reddit. You can get your news from other places. People were like, you got to follow Trump because I want to know what he's tweeting. It's like, I never followed him, and I still heard all of his fucking tweets.
That's an absurd. That's an absurd
it was
opinion.
Like, why are we? You don't need to be on it to get. And also, I heard this statistic. There's something like only 1% of the people on Twitter actually tweet.
Well, yeah, because it's mostly
the rest are just watching shit or bots. So it's not even that big of a pool. Like, it's not a lot of people who are on it. It's a very small percentage of loud people that are on it. You know what I mean? Like, saying all this dumb shit.
Sure, of course. I mean, that's people.
Yeah, I think Twitter. I think the bad outweighs the good for Twitter.
Well, we'll see. If only we had somebody on the inside. This episode of Good Work is brought to you in part by The Chief, a New York City-based newspaper focused on municipal government, civil servants, and the important issues affecting New York State and federal employees. Visit thechiefleader.com, where you can subscribe for as little as $2.75 a month.
Did you know that William Shakespeare of Stratford never once wrote a letter to anyone? That William Shakespeare of Stratford didn't own a single book? Came from parents who could not read or write, and none of his children could read or write either. How did this country bumpkin son of a Glover become known as the greatest writer in English literature history? Has history gotten it wrong? I'm host Stephen Sable. Join me and my guests, which include professors of literature, history, doctors, lawyers, artists, filmmakers, and more, as we explore the truth of the authorship of William Shakespeare on Don't Quill the Messenger. Listen now at don'tquillthepodcast.com, don'tquillthepodcast.com, or wherever you're listening to this podcast right now.
All right, welcome back, workers. So we were talking earlier about the railroad strike that might be coming, and there is a part, and I know it'll have a massive effect on on the country. And I don't know if you guys ever get like this, but like, there's that small part of me that like, the chaos part of my brain that kind of like I find it titillating, exciting for the possibility of a massive railroad strike that destroys our economy. But
Provocative.
Titillating.
It's provocative.
Titillating is also one of those sexy words, just because it's got the word tit in it, I think.
Probably.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Don't you think?
I never noticed. I never
sounds a little naughty.
Totally.
I never even noticed that.
Titillating.
Titillating.
So I thought it would be.
What is this show?
Good question.
Good work.
Good work.
So I don't know if you guys. So if you guys have heard of this before, and I feel like we're never taught so much of this shit, and the more that we've done this show, and like we've kind of dove into different things in American history, I'm like, even more convinced that we live in some sort of dystopic, manipulative society that just doesn't just wants us to make money and shut the fuck up and never talk about what's really going on. But anyways, so the Great Railroad Strike of 1877, also known as the Great Upheaval, is one of the biggest railroad strikes in American history. And
can you say what year was it again?
1877.
1877.
That's right. And for those 19th century nerds out there, it was coming off of a couple of major events in the capitalist West, right? So in France, you had the Paris Commune in 1871, where basically, for a few months, a bunch of the working class took over the city of Paris. We'll have to talk about this at some point. They took over the city of Paris and established it as a commune. And then the military came in and basically it's kind of like Les Mis, based off of.
Okay.
And then in 1873 came the Long Depression, or the Panic of 1873, which was a 65-month long Great Depression. So in case, because we have what we call the Great Depression in the 1930s, that was 45 months long. This was 20 months longer and just as bad.
Why are we measuring things in months?
I know. What is this?
What is that, like 6 years?
Yeah. Why are we doing infant talk?
What is this? It's such a funny way to say.
That is a funny way. Yeah.
How long was ours? Ours was, you said 40? So was that 4 years?
Yeah, 45. So 45 months was the Great Depression in the 1930s.
Yeah, 3 years and 8 months.
Yeah, okay. And then 65 months. I wonder if it's been written this way because it's like, because in the business cycle it's all quarterly.
Maybe, yeah,
that makes sense.
Well, that one was 5 years and 4 months.
Okay.
So there you go. Yeah. So basically, all these banks closed. It was like this huge depression. And as a result, and also like this was, the Civil War was not that long ago. Everything was kind of in upheaval. And they started cutting wages. And in 1877, and they did it 3 times. And
in the same year?
In the same fucking year, they cut wages. Jeez. So imagine you're in the middle of a depression and they cut your wages for a 3rd time. Well, that's when the workers decided in West Virginia, in Martinsburg, West Virginia, on July 14th, they decided to go ahead and strike, right? And it's kind of cool because it like strikes, I feel like, are really contagious. Protests maybe too. I feel like movements like that are really contagious. And so all of these strikes started to happen across the country. Like right after West Virginia, Then in Maryland, they started to strike, and then in New York, and then in Philadelphia, and then in Scranton, Illinois, Missouri. San Francisco had a riot that lasted 3 days.
And this is 1870. Sorry, I'm just
1877.
1877. Okay.
Yep. And in Pittsburgh, where I'm from, it got so bad. So I wanted to bring this up because it's like it kind of highlights the violence of everything. Because across the country, over 100 people died. Like there were all of these, battles with these soldiers. Because back then they would just bring out National Guard and militia and just tell them to go beat the shit out of, or whatever.
We talked about it last week for our spooky Halloween episode, all about the spooky police.
That's right.
Just that was their job. Military and police is just keep workers from destroying our means of wealth.
Yeah.
By our, I'm speaking as Elon Musk in this instance.
Do the voice.
So in Pittsburgh, because I think, we're talking about things that Howard Schultz said.
Thanks for
just
steamrolling that, James, and making it so I didn't have to do the voice. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I don't know what I don't the accent. It was the accent. I was like, I could probably do the voice, but I don't know that because he kind of talks like a little bit like Kermit the Frog a little bit. He's like down here, but he has like a really weird affectation.
He's South African, but he also spent a lot of time in Canada.
Yeah, but he sounds like a Swede for some reason. It's very confusing.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry.
Pretty, shorty, Marty, pretty.
Oh boy.
So, we were talking about like shitty things that Howard Schultz said.
Yeah.
Thomas Alexander Scott, who owned the Pennsylvania Railroad. And when the railroad workers in Pittsburgh went on strike, his response was that the strikers should be given a rifle diet for a few days and see how they like that kind of bread.
Wow.
And so that pissed off the strikers in
You
Pittsburgh.
think?
He just said he was going to shoot them for a few days.
Exactly.
It's crazy to shoot someone for several days also.
Yeah. Well, that is what happened. And the National Guard and the strikers in Pittsburgh, they battled like a fucking war for days. The strikers burned down 40 buildings, 104 locomotives, 1,245 passenger cars. And then as National Guard members like fired at them, killed 20 people, bayoneted like just civilians.
Jeez.
And it lasted almost an entire month in Pittsburgh. And the president, Rutherford B. Hayes, my favorite president, sent in federal troops to end the strikes.
Is that your favorite president?
No, I'm kidding. I know nothing about him.
I think James says that every time he brings up an old president. Have you not noticed that yet, Matt? It's an ongoing bit that we just don't acknowledge.
Totally.
Never noticed it.
Never noticed. So I wanted to just kind of bring this up. I think it's really I just would recommend our listeners read about it because so much of we're still in the same type of economic structure that we've been in for so long. And this is what happens, and with capitalism, having a crisis every 5 years and, people constantly having to try to seek out material needs. It's, it could easily turn into something like this.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, the strike itself, it was stated from July 14th to September 4th. Which is also just like that's a long time to have a physical altercation between people in the same city. That's like not like it's not a foreign war.
Yeah,
it's literally just like you're at war with your neighbors. It's very much a civil war, but it's a class civil war instead of a
So James, do you think your favorite president Biden is going to step in and for this current one?
I don't know. I actually bet if I had to predict, I would predict actually that Congress does something.
Your favorite Congress?
This is currently my favorite Congress, which is a little bit more than last Congress. And yeah, I don't know. I could see look, I just don't, I can't imagine our ruling class allowing themselves to stop making money for very long. And that's what would happen if you can't.
So
move
they step
goods.
in and do what?
I think you could potentially see something like what happened in 1981 with the air traffic controllers strike, which is
Remind me. I totally know what happened, but remind me.
President Reagan came in and threw and that's actually my uncle was a part of this in Pittsburgh and was actually jailed. Everybody was fired and the organizers of the strike were thrown in prison. And
Jesus.
yeah. And a law like he basically Reagan had a new law basically where he made it like you couldn't strike as an air traffic controller and then imprisoned the strikers basically.
Oh geez.
Yeah. So yeah, do I think it'll be that drastic? No, because technically air traffic controllers do work for the government and railroad workers work for private companies. I don't think it would be that drastic, but I do think that there could be some sort of, I don't know, something. I just have a hard time believing that they will let this happen.
Right.
Because,
the ultimate outcome of the 1877 strike was that the workers were able to have more rights, have more power, bargain better. It ultimately ended up being a win for the strikers outside of the 100 people that were lost, obviously.
Until the next one, right? It's
Sure,
like
of course.
it was like a constant. Because I think the next big one after that was like 10 years later, and it was also another like really because this is also the period I think when like the railroad, because as I was saying, it's the most profitable industry in America. We don't think of it as that, I think, because we think of like tech or medicine or but
Retail,
and as it was growing during this time, they're making more money. The workers want more money. It was like always a really tumultuous. Thank you. I was trying to think of that word. Situation. Because the next one was like I think in like 1886.
Wow,
maybe
barely a decade later.
Totally. Man, it would be so. It's so great that we're having more and more strikes again. It'd be great if we could get some general strikes in entire industries.
Some national, because that's the thing is like these did end up ultimately being all national strikes that we talk about, where
totally
San Francisco to all the way to the East Coast, like it's a lot more than just the one Cisco warehouse and we were talking about last week in Boston, or like when it's literally, hey, no, we are going to national, not give in to these shitty conditions, whatever and that's the thing about fucking Starbucks. If we could somehow get a national Starbucks union, and also that way they're not all these little individual units. If one big union, that could be such a game changer. Same thing with Amazon. Because those are like, while the railroad is still a big part of it, like you said, it's still the this big industry. I feel like
you got to reach people where they see it. Like they don't see the railroad being used, but they use Amazon. They use Starbucks. So you just got to be that one that's visible and that directly impacts.
Yeah.
Because point. I know we know the Starbucks or Amazon gets their shit through trains.
Right.
So we don't put that together. It's like all these things we said, big tech, retail, all that stuff. It's like, they all use the railroad. That's why it's such a profitable industry.
Right.
But you never see they're just kind of out of sight, out of mind a little bit.
Sure.
I think for the general public.
Because we're not like, oh man, a railroad strike. How am I going to get to my aunt's house? I usually take the railroad. Like we don't use the fucking railroads.
Yeah.
Well, I do hope that we can avoid this, but it's one of those things where if we all have to suffer a little bit for shit to be better for employees in this country, then that's what we deserve, because we live in we let capitalists get to the point where they are, and so we all deserve to suffer and not have railroads running because we let shitty people in charge be shitty to other people.
I think that's a part of class consciousness and class solidarity, right? Is being being willing to sacrifice a little bit for the greater cause and the solidarity of it all.
Right.
And we live in such a consumer culture. We don't even think of ourselves as workers anymore. We just think of ourselves as consumers, and that's really fucked up solidarity.
Yeah, absolutely. For some not fucked up solidarity, head on over to goodworkpod.com. I learned from the best, Matt. I learned from the best. Goodworkpod.com. There you can find official merchandise. Snag yourself a shirt, mask, a mug. Lovely little mug you can bring into the office and tell your boss to go fuck himself while you're holding your Good Work mug. You can find all of that at goodworkpod.com. You can also find links to our personal social media accounts, those of us who have them. And the Discord community, the Discord link, Discord's completely free. It's a great online community. You know what? Discord, a great alternative to a Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter.
I'm pro Discord.
Yeah.
I'm pro it. I'm on that. I'm on this. I look at it every once in a while. I'll get an update about something. And I'll go, what is this?
So you can find all of that
at ghost
at goodworkpod.com.
You can email us at goodworkpod@gmail.com, or you can call the Good Work voicemail box at 929-256-5151 for any sort of I quit stories, any got fired stories, any railroad ghost stories, any what else are we doing?
Everything and anything.
Whatever the fuck you want.
If you work for Twitter, let us know what it's like under Elon.
Yeah, if you work for if you work for Twitter, if you work for Meta.
And please subscribe, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And lastly, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/goodworkpod. And we'll have some extra stuff on there soon, and we'd appreciate a little bit of support on the old Patreon.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Always a blast. Good work, guys.
Good work.
Good work.
It's Dragon Wagon.